My son is currently in treatment and has stated that he'd like to go to a program post-treatment that a couple other guys he's currently in treatment are going through. Is this a normal thing? Is it all right? Is the follow-up question.
So yeah, it's totally normal because he wants to hang out with his buddies. That's not a bad thing. The more important question is, what's the aftercare program that we're looking at? And what are they going to offer the things that we need to offer? And this is something that, obviously I would throw it back to Jay and say, I can talk to the mom and dad about it, but they're probably working with you on, okay, so which aftercare program should we be looking at? And I know the ones that I like, they're happy to have people show up from treatment together, but they're going to still hold them accountable throughout the entire process.
Yeah, and I think, there's a lot that goes into this. I get a little freaked out, but and I think the follow-up question, this kind of goes to the previous question about the reality versus, they're ultimately, it's great he's making friends. The following paragraph said, but do I trust these other friends? After all, they're in treatment, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's important that the treatment facility they're currently in, kind of gives a follow-up and says, hey, they're actually really good together, or B, no, I would say, and hopefully the aftercare program does the same thing. Like, is this good? Is it, because it is a team approach and it's great. Hey, I still talk to people I've gone through my numerous treatment centers with, and you build a connection, you get it's real. Like, it's not all bad things. Like, there's some really good connections that are had in group. I still talk to some, but yeah, like I thought when I read this question and typing it in, I was like, there's a couple of guys that we had thoughts, and none of us had any intention of staying sober. We just wanted to go out and create havoc. So
yeah,
anyway.
Yeah, great questions though. These are great questions.
We're getting like, it's getting me to think. And if you get me to think, it's not that hard, but getting Kevin to think is a whole new thing. So my daughter has always had a reason she can't go to treatment. Mainly, she says her job won't let her go away for 30+ days. We don't financially support her, but we are her free daycare for our grandchildren. Follow-up is, hey, like they have sincere concern about her drinking, using. They're free. They love their grandchildren, but this is kind of where other professionals kind of go in. Like, no job is going to prevent her. Like, I think this has a lot to do with the delusions and the lies we tell our family as to why we can't go to treatment. It's never the job. It's never, and so this grandma or, this mom was ultimately saying, like, like they're in fears for the kids. They didn't come out, but I think there's certain lean towards concern for the family. We have another question following up that's real close to this. So, but what do you kind of, when you have mom and dad and then the grandparents, they don't financially support her?
Well, let's start with that. Let's start at the end first. Leave the question up. There's too much good stuff here. Yeah. You are financially supporting her. Let's be clear. Free daycare is financially supporting her. I understand why, and I don't have a problem with it. But to say you're not financially supporting her, that's Looney Tunes, because you are. Daycare is expensive. So let's just be clear right there. Mainly, she says her job won't let her go away for 30 days. Now, we got to be a little careful here because, first of all, when you go to treatment, and you know this, you're covered by the American, not American Disabilities Act. You're covered by
FMLA.
FMLA. If I found this out, if every state's different, you have to have worked there for a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you got to check the rules. You got to check the regulations. Now, let's just say this daughter qualifies. She's worked at this place long enough. Generally, it's a year. She is covered. She may not get paid, but they cannot fire her and they cannot eliminate her job. And so she will be covered. And so there, and then the last piece, my daughter always has a reason why she can't go to treatment. So that's not really how I do it. it's it's like, oh, okay. So if you're not going to go to treatment, then I want you to understand something. If you're actively using, and I know this is going to freak the family system out, I would contact a lawyer and go for custody of the kids. I would just be really clear. So what you're telling me is your daughter needs to go to treatment. She's actively using and she's caring for children. As a therapist, by law, I would have to call family services. So I just want to be super clear. I would never let those children go back into her custody while she was actively using at a level where she needs to go to treatment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty black and white for me.
No, I mean, I will say, so all these questions, what I carve it up, I send up your response, and I send the email back to them that have reached out. I can let me just be the first. If you haven't heard it, maybe I haven't told you, but every single one responds, thank you so much. I mean, and so forth. I encourage them to watch this show, of course, because I'm a little selfish, but they do love. And it's interesting you said about getting legal. And our final question